Anyone who's planning a trip to Germany may have heard a few things that aren't quite accurate or are a bit misleading. So in this video, I'd like to just set the record straight on 4 things so that you won't be completely unprepared. Well, I'm sure you're not completely unprepared, but you know what I mean. And let me begin with something that is definitely going to cause controversy in the comments. The trains are not that bad. They are not as good as they should be, but they're not that bad. Of course, if you've been unlucky enough to miss your flight or be stranded overnight in the middle of nowhere, and these things occasionally do happen, you are going to have a very different perspective on this. But if you imagine that the moment you step aboard an ICE bound for Munich, you enter a circle of hell undreamt of by Dante, no, that's an exaggeration. German trains are performing badly compared to how they were performing just 10 years ago, and also compared with trains in several neighbouring countries. But statistically speaking, about 65 to 70% of passengers can expect to arrive at their destination no more than 15 minutes late, which is not great, and we all hope that the promised investment in the infrastructure brings about some improvements. But there are worse places in the world for rail travel, and Germany it's okay. Staying with public transport, you may have heard that the Deutschland ticket is great value for money. And it is. It's a flat rate ticket for all forms of local public transport everywhere in Germany. And it currently costs just 58 euros a month. But while that is true, it's also not designed for tourists. It's designed for commuters who are assumed to be permanent residents. It's a subscription that auto-renews every calendar month unless you cancel it in time. I wish there was something aimed at tourists, but for now, if you do decide to sign up for a Deutschland ticket, make sure that you understand how and, most importantly, when to cancel it. Most resellers expect you to cancel by the 10th day of the month if you don't want to be stuck paying for the following month. Now, even after you have cancelled, you can continue to use your ticket right up until the end of the month. But in most cases, you do have to make sure that you have cancelled by the 10th. Next, as a tourist, you'll probably get by with English. Any German you're likely to meet or need to talk to will have at least some conversational English, and anybody who works in hospitality or anything connected with the tourist trade will speak enough English to do their job. There is a limit to this helpfulness. Not all cities have signs that have English translations on them. Not all instructions and public announcements are translated for you. There are some exceptions, but by and large, in most places, even places that are popular with foreign tourists, English tends to be an afterthought. But it shouldn't be a huge problem. There will usually be somebody around who can help in some way. But even if all else fails, we live in the 21st century. Every single one of us now has a phone that can make life so much easier. If you have an iPhone, you can use the Translate app to interpret for you. And if you have an Android phone, you can use this prompt to turn on interpreter mode. And yes, I'm trying to be considerate by not actually saying it out loud. And finally, Germany is a relatively safe country. Now, to be sure, there are many countries that are safer than Germany, but compared to most, Germany is reasonably safe, even for lone female travellers. I say this because I've been seeing quite a lot of scary warnings recently about all the terrorism that is happening on our streets, and I've even seen official government warnings telling citizens that they are putting their lives at risk just by setting foot in Germany. Some of these warnings are issued by countries that are many times more dangerous than Germany, which is just ridiculous. You should, of course, keep your wits about you wherever you go. And yes, violent crime is a thing here, as is terrorism. But the chances of you personally being affected are very, very small. Taking the intentional homicide rate, which is the number of deliberate murders there are per 100,000 people, Germany ranks 43rd safest in the world with a homicide rate of 0.8. That makes it roughly as safe as Australia, noticeably safer than the UK, 7 times safer than the USA, and 57 times safer than South Africa. It is true that there have been a number of very high-profile attacks, and some of them, but not all of them, have been actual terrorist attacks. But the way all this has been reported may have left you with the impression that Germany is full of crazed, knife-wielding brown people just stabbing away at random, and that impression is incredibly misleading. Attacks like that have dominated the news headlines, but they are still extremely rare. Statistically speaking, they're not enough to measurably increase the homicide rate. My advice, if you're in a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable, then by all means err on the side of caution. But don't let sensationalist news reporting lead you to think that Germany is a land of chaos and violence. And those are my tips. The trains are not so bad. Be a bit careful with the Deutschland ticket. The language barrier shouldn't be a huge problem. And you're going to be reasonably safe. And apart from that, welcome to Germany and enjoy yourselves. Okay, thumbnail pictures.